onto our back. And when you're on your back, kick one leg to the ceiling and pull it in. You can use a band, a ring, anything to pull that leg in. Now shoulders are shrugging down out of the ears. You're lengthening the back of the neck. The lower leg is long and straight down onto the floor. But if you need to, you can always bend that knee to help stabilize the hip. Now with the lifted leg, you're going to keep it straight, but now take it out to the side wall so you feel the inner thigh stretch. Good, keep pulling that straight leg towards you. Shoulders are shrugging down. Take a deep breath up high in the rib cage. Then you're going to bring the leg up and cross over the center line. Still keep the leg long and straight. Shoulders shrug down, lengthen the back of the neck. Focus on the breath up high in the rib cage. Pull the leg in a little deeper if you can. And then send to the leg for one more stretch in, and then you're going to go ahead and switch. Same thing on the other side. Pulling it in. Good. Keep pulling that leg in for a stretch. Just notice this thing in the way. Now take that leg out to the side wall so that you feel the inner thigh stretch. Remember that the leg that's on the floor, you can keep it bent if that makes it feel easier for you to help keep your pelvis stable, because you're trying to keep both hips facing the ceiling. Pull that leg in a little deeper, lengthen the back of the neck. Bring the leg up and then cross over. So when you cross over, you cross that center line and pull the straight leg in towards your shoulder. Lengthen the back of the neck. Take one more deep breath up high in the rib cage. Center the leg and pull it in again for one more hamstring stretch. And then you're going to rest both feet to the floor so your feet are flat, your knees are bent, and your hands are down by your sides. So you're just going to move the pelvis a little bit. Rock your pelvis back so you feel the imprint, and then rock your pelvis forward so you feel an arch form between the low back and the mat. Rocking back in the imprint, rocking forward. Rocking back and forth. Focus on the breath up high in the rib cage. Keep the feet parallel, keep knees in line with hips. I want you to rock back into the imprint and stay in the imprint so we can go into a bridge. You're going to lift the hips up. Lifting the hips up, you're on your shoulder blades, press the arms down into the floor, and then slowly roll the spine right back down until you rest. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, lifting the hips. Press the toes to the floor. Lift the hips as high as you can, squeezing the glutes. And then rolling back down. You got one more. Peeling the spine up. Hold at the top, take a deep breath, and then slowly rolling back down into your rest. Now hold your low back into that imprint, because we're just gonna go do a little hip stretch, cross one ankle over the opposite knee, and then hug it into your chest. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Now when you uncross the legs, you're going to bring them to tabletop position. With this one, you could do this with the legs glued together. You could put the ball between the knees if you want. If you're going to do alternating, which we'll all start with alternating, you could just keep the knees hip width apart the whole time. So alternating, just one leg lowers, keep it bent 90 degrees, bring it back up, lower the other leg, bring it up. So you're really just tapping the toes of the floor, bring it right back up to tabletop. The challenge here is to not move the pelvis and not move the low back. If you're doing both legs at the same time, glue them together or squeeze that ball between your knees. Inhale the legs lower, exhale lifting right back up. Good, trying to keep those legs at a stiff 90-degree bend. Try not to move the pelvis, keep the low back in the same position so that the low back does not arch up off the mat as the feet get closer to the floor. Remember to press the shoulders down, lengthen the back of the neck. You have one more, but let's try to get the feet to hover off the mat. So if you're doing single leg, just hover one foot off the floor. If you're doing both legs, hover both feet off the mat, squeeze the legs together. Go ahead and switch if you're doing single leg. Keep the legs hovering off the floor. If you're doing double legs, pull the belly in, and then go ahead and rest your feet to the floor. Keep both knees together, drop both knees to one side and stretch. Do the same thing to the other side. So if you still have that ball between your knees, you're going to keep it because now we're going to move it between the ankles. I'm going to use my little one. We're going to go into the 100. Remember with the 100, you could keep the legs here at tabletop the whole time, If you really want to make this easy, you could just keep your feet flat on the floor. You could do half and half if you want, meaning half feet on the floor, half at tabletop. If you can, or a regular 100, curl up, lengthen the legs to straight, and start pumping the arms. Inhaling for 5 counts, exhale for 5. Always reaching longer arms. Your shoulder blades are sliding down towards the hips. Squeeze the ball a little tighter, reach longer arms. Keep chin to chest as you're watching your abs stay tight and pulled in. But if you rest your head down, make sure you press the back of the shoulders down to the floor. Squeeze the ball a little tighter if you have it. Always think about pulling up on the pelvic floor. Inhaling 5 counts, exhale 5 counts. Try to get the legs a little bit lower. Remember to still pull up on the pelvic floor, reach longer legs. This is your last 10 count. Now after you exhale, hold everything still, curl up higher, and then you can finally rest back down. So grab onto that ball or ring if you have it, and you're gonna hold it in your hands. You're gonna squeeze the ball or ring. If you have a band, pull the band apart so you're working your outer arms and your shoulders. With this one, press it into the ring, making the arms and pecs work harder. You're gonna curl up, look into the belly, come all the way up for a roll up, and stretch out over the legs. Stack your spine up to straight, grow tall, and then rolling back down to the floor. Arms finish at the ceiling. We'll keep doing the roll-ups. Remember, it's fine if it's just head and shoulders that come up, and then you rest down. You could do the modification too, where you start in a seated position, and then you roll down just before you feel like you're gonna fall to the floor. You come right back up and stretch out over the legs. Rolling all the way down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Arms to the ceiling, shoulders stay out of the ears. Remember to keep pressing into that ball or ring if you have it, or if you're working with the band, pull harder and further apart. Still breathing. We got 1 more deep breath. Exhale, coming all the way over the legs. We will finish down onto the floor. When you're down onto the floor, go ahead and get rid of the ring or ball if you have it. We're going to go into leg circles. So 1 leg, kick straight to the ceiling. Point the feet. The lower leg can be bent if you want that lower leg bend to help stabilize the hip. But we are trying to draw the biggest circle possible without moving the hips. You're pressing the back of the shoulders down, lengthening the back of the neck. Inhale as you start, exhale as you finish. Still tell the upper back to work hard to pull the shoulder blades down towards the hips. When you bring that leg to the ceiling, you're gonna pause and go in the opposite direction, so you're reaching out through the heels. Think longer, straighter legs. Narrow the waistline, pulling the belly in. Crossing over that center line as you pull up. You got 1 more circle. And when you finish with that leg at the ceiling, keep the leg straight, keep the foot flexed, and pull the leg in for a stretch. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So pointed feet to start, and then start your circle either direction. Inhale as you start, exhale as you finish. Remember with Pilates, the breath is up high in the rib cage, lateral rib cage breathing while you pull the belly in. Always think about pulling up on the pelvic floor. When you bring the leg to the ceiling, pause for a moment so you can flex the feet and go in the opposite direction. Pressing the shoulders down, lengthening the back of the neck. Think longer legs, reaching out through the heels. Press the arms into the floor. Do your last circle, and when you bring that leg to the ceiling, grab onto the straight leg and pull it in for a stretch. Now bend both legs and bring both legs to tabletop position. So we're going into the ab series here, the 5 exercises. Remember to take breaks if you need it. Curl up, look into the belly, hug 1 knee into your chest, other leg lengthens away, and then you switch. Reach that leg long. Feels like you're reaching out of the hip joint, pointing the feet, reaching through the toes. Shoulders shrug down out of the ears. Try to curl up higher if you can. Do 1 more stretch on each leg and then keep both legs glued together. Stay curled up, you reach your arms back, legs go forward, and then come right back to center. Now you can do this with head and shoulders on the floor. Just make sure if your head is down, you press the back of the shoulders down. But the goal is to try to stay curled up as the arms reach back. Remember to squeeze the inner thighs together. Do one more. When you bring it back to that little ball, take a little breather here because we're gonna go into scissor kicks. So one leg to the ceiling, one leg falls down, and then you switch. Try to exhale when you pull that leg towards you. Now you can deepen this stretch by reaching out through the heels. Try not to grip into your neck. Still breathing. Get those legs scissor kicking for one more full set. Then both legs will finish at the ceiling. Point the feet, rest down head and shoulders, and press the arms down to the floor. Both legs are gonna lower and lift without changing the position of the pelvis or the low back. To really challenge our core strength, you are trying to maintain neutral. So you feel that natural curve between the low back and the mat. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Press those long arms down into the mat. You could always keep your hands on the hips though if you needed to help feel the pelvis staying stable. Let's do our last two, lower and lift. Inhale as you lower, exhale, lifting right back up to the ceiling. It's our last one, and when you bring the legs up to the ceiling, bend them to tabletop, hands together behind your head, curl up, look into the belly, and then go right into crisscross. So we're twisting towards the bent leg. Try to curl up a little bit higher if you can. Take the time to fully extend that leg out to straight. Keep elbows wide. Wringing the air out of the lungs. You have one more twist on each side. And then when you come back to center, you can finally rest the feet, lengthen the legs down to straight, and just do a full body stretch. Reach your arms way back. Still breathe. And then bring your hands right back down by your side. So if you have your ring or your ball, you can bring it with you as you roll to your sides. We could do our side leg series. If you don't have a prop, it's okay. You just keep the hand on the floor in front of you. You're gonna prop yourself up onto the elbow. Legs are forward to help with the balance, or you can draw the legs back, so in a straight line. Lift the waistline up, and then you're gonna point and flex as you lift the top leg. So if you wanted to, you could press the ball into the floor. Another option is to bring the hands behind your head to really challenge your balance and your core strength. Shoulders still shrug down out of the ears. Don't let the lower leg get lazy. And you're trying so hard not to sink into the shoulder and not drop the waistline. So keep pushing the floor away and keep that shoulder slid down. Now hold the leg at hip height and draw little circles. So that lifted leg, drawing small controlled circles, still breathing. Rolling the shoulders down and back. Now you're gonna flex the foot and go in the opposite direction. Good. Hold the leg at hip height. You're gonna swing forward and back. Hollowing out the abdomen. Good, don't let that lower leg get lazy. Keep the kicking leg at hip height. Let's do one more forward kick. Last kick back, and then bring the legs together and lay all the way down to your side. You can use the ring or ball between the ankles if you want to. Lengthen those legs to straight. Make sure you're in a straight line from top of the head down to your toes. The top hand can be on the mat for balance support. If you don't need it, take it over the hip to challenge yourself. Squeeze that ball or ring a little tighter. Pulling the belly in. Remember, shoulders are always shrugging down out of the ears. Exhale with every lift up. Now lift and hold and stay here. If you have that ring or ball, squeeze for little pulses like you're trying to squeeze harder to pop that ball or squish that ring harder. If you don't have the ball or ring, you're just gonna hold the leg steady and just move the top leg. Or you could always get rid of the ball and do this too. Good, rest the legs back down. Bring your ball to the other side so we can go over to the other side. So if you have your ring or ball, you're gonna press it into the floor if you want. The legs go forward slightly to help with the balance, otherwise draw them back so you're challenging your core strength. And then we're gonna try to prop yourself up onto the elbows for the hardest version. Shoulders shrug down out of the ears. Every time those legs meet together, activate the inner thighs. Still pulling the belly in. Don't let the lower leg get lazy. Breath is up high in the rib cage. Now you're going to hold the leg at hip height and draw little circles. Good thing, longer leg. Now flex the foot and go in the opposite direction. Good, reaching out through the heel. Stay lifted out of the shoulder. Keep trying to narrow the waistline. Hold the leg at hip height with a flexed foot, and you're going to kick forward and back. Don't let the lower leg get lazy. Keep it tight and strong. Good. Still breathing. Squeezing the glutes. You do one more forward kick, last kick back, and then draw the legs together. If you have that ball, you can put it between your ankles, same with the ring. Lay all the way down onto the floor. Top hand can be on the floor or over the hip, and both legs are gonna lift and lower. Good, try not to grip into your neck. Shoulders are still shrugging down out of the ears. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Good, lift and hold. If you have that ring or ball, you're just gonna squeeze tighter for little pulses. If you don't, you're just gonna lift and lower the top leg. Good, squeeze the ball a little tighter. And then when you're ready, you can finally rest back down. Flip onto your belly. If that ball's there, you could just let it roll away or get rid of it basically. So we're gonna have your elbows tucked by your side. You're on your abdomen, shoulders slid down. The legs are just long and let them be kind of lazy for now. Don't lift them up. You're gonna use your back to lift the rib cage up and then lower back down. You're trying not to use the arms, just your back to lift and then lower. Pull the belly in deeper. Shoulders are sliding down out of the ears. Do 2 more lifts. One more lift up and hold it. Now just stay here hovering off the floor. You can keep the hands on the floor or you can lift them up with you, but now we're just gonna lift the legs. Legs go up and down. If this is too much for the back, feel free to rest your upper body down. You don't have to keep it lifted and hovering if you don't want to. Think about drawing the navel in deeper. Still tell the upper back to work hard to roll the shoulders down and back to the long neck. Lift and hold both legs up and now do little beats where the legs are opening and closing. Making those adductors work hard. Keep the legs lifted. So feel the glutes working hard. Lower back is working so hard to keep those legs up. Now hold everything steady. Reach your arms long and now you're starting to swim. Arms and legs are going up and down. Pull the belly deeper. Shoulders are still shrugging down out of the ears. Lifting the rib cage a little higher, kicking the legs a little higher. And then you're gonna finally take a break. Keep your feet onto the floor, keeping those legs long. Tuck your elbows by your side again. So now we're gonna lift your rib cage up one more time and then come all the way up for your full extension. I lied, it's not just one more time, it's actually a bunch more times. So go all the way back down. We're gonna do it again, lifting the rib cage up and then coming all the way up for your extension. Try not to grip into your neck and don't lock the elbows. Pull the belly in, lifting and lower. We'll do one more. And then lower all the way back down. Now you can use your arms underneath your forehead for neck support. If you want to challenge the strength in your back, you're going to lift the rib cage up and hover again. Bend your knees, squeeze the heels together, and just lift the legs. So again, you can keep the rib cage hovering off the floor, or you could just rest down and use your arms for neck support. Either one is fine. Keep pressing the heels together so you feel the inner thighs working. Still pull up on the pelvic floor. Do one more lift, and then you get to take a break. Lengthen the legs. We're gonna go into a little child's pose stretch, rounding your spine, C curving. And we're gonna go into a plank. So if you need to modify this, you can come down to your elbows, or you could stay on your knees. So either one is fine. Elbow plank, of course, crossing that. If you can, do straight arms, straight legs. So while you're in this plank, push the floor away so you feel your upper back reaching towards the ceiling, but don't let your face sink to the floor. Back of the head is reaching to the ceiling. And now we're doing the leg lift. Lifting one leg, lower down, lift the other leg. It is just a little lift because you don't want to go too high that the low back sways or you move your pelvis. You're trying to keep your spine in the same spot. Good, do one more lift on each leg. And then we're gonna do that same exercise. You can take a little breather here. Same exercise in reverse. So now we flip over to seated. Hands are back behind you, your legs are straight, your feet are pointed, and you're gonna try to lift the hips up so you're in a plank. You could just stay here, hold this, but if you can, add the leg lift. Exhale when you kick that leg to the ceiling. Keep pushing the floor away. Remember, you can do this with the hips still on the floor and skip the leg lift, or sorry, skip the hip lift and just do the leg lift. If you can, get those hips up for one more lift on each leg. And then you're gonna drop the hips and fold forward over the legs and stretch. Pull yourself into the legs. Now you're gonna sit tall. This one you can use your ring. If you have weights, you can hold the weights. You're just gonna sit tall with ankles in line with hips, and we're just gonna lift one leg. So if you don't have any props, you could just keep your hands by your side, but you don't wanna use your arms like kickstands. Use your core to keep pulling the rib cage forward and higher to the ceiling. Go ahead and switch legs. Still breathing. Think about narrowing the waistline. Roll the shoulders down and back. Now drop that leg. We got one more set, but this one's with the turnout. So your feet are in a V shape. Sit tall and lift one leg. So we got the turnout. Same leg lift, just externally rotated. Go ahead and switch, same thing on the other side. Pulling the belly in, pulling the shoulder blades together. And then go ahead and rest down the legs. So now bend both knees really wide so the soles of the feet are together, and then lean into the legs and stretch. Now you're gonna draw the knees together, keep them bent, feet are flat, and we're gonna do half roll backs. So you could still use the ring or ball, squeezing it, or weights in your hands, but with those feet glued to the floor, knees together, you're gonna fall back halfway, like you're going back into a lounge chair, and then pull right back up, trying to grow tall and straight. Keep squeezing the knees together, and you're trying to go back without letting the feet leave the floor. Try to make the back of the legs work harder by pressing the soles of the feet downward into the mat. Roll the shoulders down and back, draw the navel in deeper. Do one more. When you come right back up, we're gonna hold it. So if you're holding something in your hands, you're just gonna fall, rotate, still squeeze that ball or ring. If your arms are free, you can go ahead and reach that arm way back behind you to open up across the front of the chest. Fall and rotate, come right back up. Squeeze the knees together, pull the belly in, press the feet to the floor, hollow out the abdomen the whole time. It's hard to always think about drawing that navel in. We got one more twist on each side, so one more full set. When you come right back to center, we're gonna stay up. Now scoot forward so you have enough room on your mat behind you, because we're gonna do rolling like a ball. Your hands are on your shins, you're gonna lift the feet up, C-curve your spine without hiking those shoulders up, keep them down. When you roll back, just roll to your shoulders and then come right back up to balance. Inhale as you roll back, exhale, back up. Still breathing. Squeeze the knees together, draw the navel in deeper. Inhale as you roll back, exhale up. We got one more. When you come up to seated, you're gonna pause and hold it. Bring your hands to the back of the thighs, lift the legs to at least tabletop position. You could work harder though and go up to straight legs. This one is open leg rocker, so the knees are now gonna separate about shoulder width apart. Remember, you can still do tabletop legs if you can, keep them straight. And if the legs are straight, walk your hands higher up the legs. Now try to maintain this position with your body as you rock. You roll to your shoulders and then come right back up to balance, holding those legs up. Inhale as you roll back, exhale up. Hollow out the abdomen. You really have to tell those quads to work hard to keep the legs long and straight. Try to do 2 more rocking if you can. Oh, lost that last one. When you come up out there, you're gonna hold it. Try to get up there and hold, breathe, and then you can finally rest back down. So just lengthen one leg, keep the other leg straight, doesn't matter which one. You're gonna hold on to the back side of the bent leg. We're going into tree. It is a reformer exercise, but we can do that on the mat. You're gonna lift the rib cage up, trying to sit tall and proud, then kick the leg up, bend it, kick it to straight, bend it. Now kick it to straight and hold it. Now both legs are working legs, so walk your hands up the lifted leg and pull it in while you continue to think about this lower leg. If you can deepen the stretch, the lifted leg, flex the foot, pull it in deeper, and shoulders shrug down. Now we're gonna keep that lifted leg up as you walk your hands down, fall down about halfway, and just hold. Hang out here using your abs. If you can, let go without rotating. Still squared off facing forward. Bring your hands back to leg, walk to the top again, and pull yourself into that leg, shoulders shrug down, and then you're gonna relax the leg. You're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So bent leg, sit tall, kick it, bend it, kick, bend. Now kick and hold that leg straight. Walk your hands up that leg as high as you can and flex the foot. Remember to keep the lower leg a working leg. You're gonna walk the hands down the lifted leg, fall back halfway, and hang out here, still scooping your abs, still breathing. Arms out, your shoulders are down. Bring your hands back to the leg, walk to the top again, and pull yourself in and stretch. And then you can finally relax. Good. Bend both knees, and then we're gonna do a real slow roll down. Just make sure you have enough room on your mat. A very slow roll down with the knees bent, feet flat, knees in line with your hips. Tuck your tailbone and fall down as slow as possible without letting the feet leave the floor. So hollowing out the abdomen, tucking the tailbone, rolling down. And then when you get all the way down to the floor, we're gonna rest your hands down. So we're gonna do the bridging again. Feel free to work harder. If you have a roller, you could put the roller underneath your feet. If you don't have the roller, just keep your feet flat onto the mat and make sure that roller is even too, as they get crooked. So rock the pelvis back. So you start with an imprint, pull the belly in, and lift the hips up into a bridge. With the hips hovering off the floor like this, you're pressing the arms down, and we're gonna do some alternating leg kicks. Kick one leg up, lower down, kick the other leg up, and lower down. Still breathing. Remember, you're keeping the pelvis level. Good, as that one leg is kicking and stretching to the ceiling, the other leg is pressing harder into the floor, or your roller. You can do one more kick on each side. After that last kick, hold both feet on the floor, take another deep breath up high in the rib cage, and then slowly roll the spine right back down into your rest. So we're gonna do that again, but this time when you get your hips up, we're gonna hold it. When you're ready, lift the hips, stay, kick one leg, and hold it. So with this lifted leg, you're gonna lower halfway with a flex foot, point as you lift back up. Same leg, lower and lift. Keep those hips up off the floor, keep your pelvis level. Do one more. Rest on the foot, keep the hips up so we can do the same thing on the other side. Straight leg lower and lift. Still breathing, still trying to narrow the waistline. Hopefully those arms are working, pressing down into the floor. Go ahead and rest the foot, take a deep breath, and then slowly roll down until you rest. Good, so the next one we're gonna do some single leg bridges. Still, you could do this with the roller under your feet or feet flat on the floor. But one leg is long and straight with your thighs still parallel. So don't let the leg go too low and don't go straight to the ceiling. Starting to imprint, lift the hips up, trying to keep those thighs parallel, and then roll right back down. Same leg, don't switch sides yet. Just lift the hips up, and then rolling back down. You got two more. And then one more lift up. Hold those hips up and stay. Now, only if you can work harder, if you have that roller, move the sole of the foot that's on the roller so that foot is going back and forth. Go ahead and rest down the spine. You can barely hold that one. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now, opposite foot is on the roller. Leg is long and straight. Ramping up. Lift the hips up, hold the hips up, and then roll your spine right back down into your rest. Exhale, lifting the hips. Try to keep your thighs parallel so your knees are next to each other. You got 2 more. So focus on the breath. Now the 4th one is the extra challenge. If you have the roller under your foot, get the hips up and hold it and just move that lower leg, rolling back and forth. Good, hold it steady and then roll back down. Stretch out the back of the legs by kicking them to the ceiling and stretch. Now we're gonna do corkscrew next. So if you have that roller, just ignore it. You can move it off to the side. But everybody's gonna lengthen the legs to the ceiling and we're doing a small corkscrew. It's hard to hold the legs long and straight if you have tight hamstrings, so it's okay if you need to have a little bend in the knees, but try to keep them straight. We start the motion by picking the hips up a little. It's like getting the tailbone off the floor. Tip your legs to one side, so you're more on one hip. Draw the legs down and around over to the other side, and then you're back at center. It's like drawing a big circle on the ceiling. And then you're gonna alternate, so you go in the opposite direction on the next one. Keep alternating, those legs getting longer, straighter. Both shoulders are pressing to the floor too. Keep those arms strong, pressing into the mat. Squeeze the legs together, pull the belly in. Focus on the breath up high in the rib cage. You have 1 more circle in each direction, so just a 1 last set. After you bring the legs all the way back to center, bend the legs to tabletop. So another one to work our abdomen here is this extension. The legs go out and in, but turn out. So heels together, toes apart, your knees are a little wide, looks like a froggy squat. If you prefer, you could do this with the legs parallel and knees together. But find your neutral, so hip bones and pubic bone on the same plane, natural curve in the low back, and then both legs extend, and then bring them back in. Legs lengthen, and come right back in to this froggy position. Press the shoulders to the floor, and try to challenge your core strength by getting the legs a little lower, as long as you're not moving the pelvis or the low back. Remember to draw the navel in deeper, so the abdomen does not lift upward towards the ceiling as those legs extend. A lot more core strength is needed to help support the long legs. Now, if you can, for that extra challenge, you can take it or leave it, but hold the legs straight and do little beats. You open and close the legs, tapping the heels together. Keep pressing the shoulders down, lengthening the back of the neck, breathing, breath is up high in the rib cage. Now hold the heels together, bend your knees in, and then give yourself a little break. You can hug your knees into your chest. So we're gonna do roll over, where we're bringing our legs up and overhead. Make sure you slide down if you got something behind you so that you don't kick it. Legs are gonna be straight up to the ceiling. Now your prep is just to lift the hips up a little and then the hips fall down. If you have a roller or ball, you could start with the roller ball underneath your hips and just let the legs come towards your face and then bring them back up. That just really helps open up the low back if you're extremely tight there. So if you know that you can, we're gonna go all the way up and over into the full rollover where your legs are parallel with the floor underneath you. Squeeze the legs together and then slowly roll the spine right back down until you rest. Your legs are at the ceiling when you finish. Take a deep breath. Exhale, legs overhead. And then rolling right back down. Stopping when the legs are at a 90-degree angle. Good, try and do 2 more if you can. Try to get the legs longer, straighter, and squeeze them together. Resting down. This is gonna be our last one. Now when you rest back down, you can take a break here if you need it. Bend the legs to tabletop, still gluing the shoulders to the floor and pressing your arms long into the mat. You're gonna tip your legs to one side. So both shoulders are still to the floor, but now you're only on one hip. Then both legs extend to straight, bring them back to tabletop, draw the legs over to the other hip, extend them to straight, bring them back to tabletop. So keep alternating when you do this. The slower you move, the harder you work, and you can also focus on keeping your form a little better. Pressing the shoulders down into the mat, lengthen the back of the neck so your chin gets a little closer to your chest. Squeeze the legs together, pull the belly in. Remember to always think about pulling up on the pelvic floor. Breath up high in the rib cage. Extending. We'll just do 1 more on each side to finish up this last set. And then when you come back to center, you can hug your knees into your chest. Lengthen your legs down onto the floor. So if you have that roller ball, you're gonna wanna get rid of it. We're gonna do our roll up. So if you wanted to work harder at this point, you could bring your hands behind your head. Otherwise, roll up arms to the ceiling, or you could just rock yourself up to a seated position. So hardest is hands behind your head, elbows wide, legs are straight glued together, and you're gonna bring yourself all the way up off the floor. I could barely get up on that one today. And then fold over the legs. Stack your spine back up just straight. I clearly need more practice for that. So we're gonna turn face towards the long edge of your mat, and we're gonna go into our mermaid and then hopefully go into the side bends. So with the mermaid position, sit in the Z sit. You could sit crossed Indian style legs or both legs straight out in front. Hand on the floor and then fall over and stretch away from the feet. Come back up and then stretch in the opposite direction. Fall over and stretch, shoulders shrug down out of the ears. Now fall over and hold this one and stretch. Now twist and look at the floor. Twist to face front, and then come all the way back up to seat and stretch in the opposite direction. We're gonna go over and swing the legs to the other side. Do a mermaid on the other side. Fall over and stretch, shoulders shrug down out of the ears. Coming up and stretching towards the feet. Try not to move the pelvis. Fall over for one more, we add the rotation. Twist, look at the floor, twist back to face front, and then come back up and stretch. Now we'll keep going in this direction for our side bends. So keep that top hand at the, lower arm at the top of the mat, and then stretch your legs long so your feet are at the bottom edge of the mat. Make sure the top leg foot is in front of the lower leg. When you're ready, we're gonna lift up. This is the full, the hardest version of this where you stretch up and over. You can keep your knee on the floor and put weight onto that lower leg as you stretch up and over. You could do this too on your elbow if you wanted to, and just stretch. Try to get all the way up. Maybe aim for 4 of those. And then when you go all the way back down, we're gonna hold it. We're gonna swing the legs to the other side. So same side bends on this side. Top leg is in front of the lower leg. Hand to the top of the mat and lift up and stretch. Remember, you can do the modifications on the lower knee or elbow. That lifting and stretching. Still breathing. Try to lift the rib cage as high as you can to the ceiling. Get that lower arm strong, pushing the floor away. Last 4th one. You could always do more if you want to do more. When you come back to seated, we're going to stay on the floor. So this is where we're going to do a twisted teaser, which maybe we should do the original teaser first. So let's get into that. So you're sitting centered on your mat with your knees bent and your hands are back behind your thighs. Fall back halfway and just hold. Roll the shoulders down and back. And it's just so that you're balancing on your hips behind the sit bones. Legs are at tabletop. You could stay here and just hold this. Think proud rib cage, pulling the belly in. If you can work harder, let go. And then harder than this is straight legs. Even harder to challenge your balance, bring those arms up. Still glue the legs together, pull the belly in. Always think pulling up on the pelvic floor. Focus on the transverse abdominals, the lowest part of the abdomen, pulling in deeper. Take one more deep breath. And then you can rest back down. So now we're gonna go into a little twisted one. It has more support though. So scoot your hips. Let's maybe shift left so that your right hip will be in the center of the mat, and then lay back down onto your right elbow. So if you're on your right hip, you're on your right elbow. You're gonna lift the legs up, will look like tabletop. The top hand is free, it's just kind of hanging out in front of you. You could reach it long too if you want to. Don't sink into this lower shoulder. Lift the rib cage up. Now a harder version is straight legs. You're gonna drop the lower leg, lift it back up. So the top leg stays close to that reaching arm. Remember, you can keep that top hand in front of your abdomen, feeling your abs stay tight. You could do the bent legs, lower and left. Makes it a lot easier on your core to keep those legs bent. Lift the rib cage higher. Do one more lower lift. Hold the legs lifted. Stay up here, breathe, lift the rib cage higher. And then you can finally rest. We're gonna go to the other side. So just scoot your hips over so you're on your left hip, left elbow, lift the rib cage up, Lift the legs up, so balance on that hip. Lengthen the legs as straight if you can. Reach that top arm if you can. And then the lower leg falls towards the floor, lifting back up. Pointed feet. Good, reaching through the toes. With your hands on your abdomen, feel your abs stay tight and pulled in. Keep lifting up out of that shoulder so we're not sinking to the floor. Hopefully you're still taking those deep breaths. So your last one, lift up and hold it, still breathe, and then you can finally rest back down. So sit tall with your legs straight out in front of you. Legs are about as wide as the mat. Arms are straight out in front of you. Sit as tall as possible, pull the belly in, and then your upper spine is gonna stretch forward into flexion. And then stack right back up to straight. Upper spine stretches forward, exhaling, bringing the air, forcing the air out of the lungs, and then coming right back up. Longer arms, stretching, draw the navel in deeper. Come right back up and hold it. Now the legs are gonna go wider and we're gonna go right into stall. The arms also go wider. You're gonna twist towards one leg, fold down to the straight leg, stay in the rotation as you stack up to straight and then come back to center. Exhaling as you reach down, inhale, stack up, exhale back to center. Inhaling, exhale. Inhale, stack up, exhale back to center. So deep breath as you rotate, exhale, full down. Inhale, grow tall again, pulling the belly in, exhale back to center. And just focus on getting a deeper stretch with each one. Longer arms reaching away from center, longer legs. Keep the feet flexed. Try to round down a little deeper. Back to center. You do your last one, last full set. Basically, you want to finish reaching to the opposite leg that we started. When you come back to center, you can relax the arms, bring the legs right back in. We're gonna do another little stretch here. Kick one leg to straight, one leg is bent, but the bent leg falls to the floor. Sit up tall, and then twist towards the bent leg. Twisting as far as you can. Shoulders shrug down out of the ears. Now you're gonna stay looking at the bent leg and fold into the straight leg. Rounding into that straight leg, flex the foot, sink into it a little deeper, and then come right back up. We're gonna go to the other side. So straight leg, bent leg, sit tall, and twist towards the bent leg. Twisting a little further if you can, shoulders rolling down and back. Now stay looking at the bent leg as you fold down into the straight leg. Still breathing. You can come right back up. We're gonna bring ourselves up onto your hands and knees. So we're gonna do a thigh stretch here. You could stay seated if you didn't wanna kneel. You're gonna stand tall on your knees. If you have a ring or a ball, you could squeeze it or use weights in your hands. I'm just gonna keep my hands by my side, roll the shoulders down and back, activate those inner thighs, pull the belly in, and now hinge back from the knees, and then return right back up to straight. Falling back into the thigh stretch, and then pulling forward. Good, feel those quads being stretched and worked, and then pulling back to center. Hollow out the abdomen, rolling the shoulders down and back. Do one more, fall back and hold it. Now you could always come out early, but if you can, we're gonna move the arms. So the arms go up and down while you stay in this thigh stretch. The weight of the arms makes it a lot harder on the core and those thighs to hold ourselves back at this angle. You could do one more, still activate those inner thighs, pull the belly in, and then you can come right back up to center. Come onto all fours, so our hands are down onto the mat, roll the shoulders down and back. So the easier version for this is just to keep the knees on the floor, but our legs are gonna do this swingy motion at the hip joint, and you will be alternating. You do not want the low back to change position, so you gotta keep your spine in the same spot. If you can, curl the toes under and lift the knees up. So knees hovering off the floor is so much harder. Good. With that knee hovering off the floor, you're trying to keep it in the same spot as you're lifting the kicking leg. That kicking leg does stay bent the whole time as you're lifting it up towards the ceiling. Roll the shoulders down and back again, pull the belly in. Think of those arms getting stronger, pushing the floor away. You just do one more kick on each side. And then when you're ready, you're gonna rest the knees down, go into a little child's pose stretch, lengthen the arms. We're gonna go into some push-ups. If you need to make this easier, you stay on your knees in a little smaller version of the plank. So if you can, lift up to the straight legs, and we're gonna do 6 push-ups. Feel free to do more. Exhale as you push the floor away. Inhaling when you bend, exhale, push away. Shoulders shrug down out of the ears, hollowing out the abdomen. Remember to keep your neck in neutral so you're not sinking face to the floor. Last push-up. Now you're gonna walk your hands to your feet and bring yourself into your straight legs. Pulling yourself in, you should feel that deep hamstring stretch. Your abs are tight and pulled in. And then bring yourself all the way up to standing. When you're standing, just step 1 foot forward, 1 foot stays back. Keep your spine straight and hinge forward into that front leg. Both legs are long and straight. Try to keep your spine straight. Remember, your abs are still tight and pulled in. Breath is up high in the rib cage. Rolling the shoulders down and back. If you can deepen the stretch, flex the front foot. We're gonna do the same stretch on the other side. Both legs straight and hinge forward. You are trying to keep your hips squared off, facing forward. Sink a little deeper with each exhale. And when you're ready to deepen the stretch, flex the front foot. Still breathing. Sink down a little deeper if you can. And then you can come all the way back up. Now with your feet parallel, and you can't see much here, but parallel feet, you're gonna lift the heels and drop the heels. Lift and lower. Just do 3 more calf raises with parallel feet. Then you're gonna turn your feet out into a V, so heels together, toes apart, and do the same calf raises, lifting and lowering. Pulling the shoulder blades together. Do 1 more. Now drop the heels, hold it. So this one, reach your arms up to the ceiling. I'll do a kneeling version, but you stay standing. You're gonna reach your arms up to the ceiling and try to arch back a little. Squeeze your glutes, pull the belly in, and then you're gonna bring your arms forward and round down. Try to round all the way down to the ground so that you're in this standing forward fold. Pulling yourself in. Now stay down here onto the floor, or you could stay standing. I'm coming down just so you can see me for the camera, but you're gonna bring your shoulders up and down. Shoulders up to your ears and shoulders shrug down. You could do that standing or kneeling or sitting. Shrug those shoulders down out of the ears and just do a couple neck rolls in one direction. You can do your neck rolls in the opposite direction. Take both arms up to the ceiling again, grab onto one wrist and pull it to the side to stretch. Do the same thing to the other side. And then when you come right back to center, you guys are all done.